this is Alex for the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. For more videos like this, be sure to hit like and subscribe. And find our weekly Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.
So, guys, we have the New York Giants on the docket to break down tonight. There is some pretty big fantasy relevance here when you think about some of the players that are on the New York Football Giants. You've got Saquon Barkley, you've got Sterling Shepard, you have Golden Tate, the newcomer Darius Slayton, the rookie putting up a good rookie campaign, Evan Ingram, and the emergence of Daniel Jones, as well as they've still got a guy named Eli Manning on the roster as of now, and it'd be interesting to see where he may end up. So, guys, let's go ahead and start with Saquon there. The Giants replacing a head coach and bringing Joe Judge over. They've replaced an offensive coordinator. Old Jason Garrett is now in the OC chair. And, guys, they ran a 63% pass and a 37% run ratio last year. So, guys, looking at the wide receiver core for the Giants, there are three players there that have quite a bit of fantasy relevance there, and they're all kind of in a we'll start with Sterling Shepard. He finished wide receiver 48 on the year. Had 57 catches, 576 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had about a 14% target share. Now, part of that, too, was he was injured for a good part of the year and looks like he sat out about 5 games to it. 6 games he was out, so that had some diminished results for him. But what are you guys thinking here on Sterling Shepard? He is ranked 36th position, 79 overall.
I have him lower than that just because I can't trust the fact that the guy's going to stay healthy. Sterling Shepard is a good receiver. He was a good receiver coming out of Oklahoma when the Giants drafted him. And truth be told, I don't know that he's quite lived up to the hype. I think injuries have kind of knocked him a little bit. His route running hasn't quite developed as well as I think the New York Giants wish it would be. And he's kind of the wide receiver 1 on that team, but I don't know that he's anything more than, a wide receiver 3 at best, just because his upside isn't there. I think he goes in round 7, we'll call it. I think that's a little bit lower than the 80th overall, kind of the pre-rankings, of where it's at. I don't see him finishing as a top 40 wide receiver. I think injuries are going to get him again. And I think the emergence of some other pieces around him, Barkley being healthy again, the emergence of Slayton, Golden Tate's going to continue to get his as long as he's in the league. So I just don't see Sterling Shepard being as crucial of a piece to anybody's fantasy roster as they maybe would like him to be.
I agree. I don't think he's even a wide receiver 1 on that team anymore. I think Darius Slayton and Golden Tate are battling it out for wide receiver 1 on that team. As that go-to guy, but I think you also need to take into account the quarterback play and Daniel Jones as he continues to develop. I think he's going to have a little bit more chemistry with these other guys because they'll be on the field more than Sterling Shepard will. So I'm with you, Kevin. I think he's definitely not going to be a top 40 wide receiver. I don't see that, and I think that he should be drafted as a wide receiver 3. And I'm good with that 7th round, 8th round projection for Sterling Shepard. And don't be surprised if we see Slayton and Tate. Those guys, their average draft position higher than Sterling Shepard's.
Right. I've got him as kind of in that 7th round right there with you guys as well. No, I don't think he gets up in the top 36. I think he's going to be right there around that 40 spot to it. It's tough to say just because he's got, with that target share only being a 14%, definitely more of kind of that possession receiver there in New York, whereas Darius Slayton's going to provide the pop. And I think Golden Tate's going to command a lot of targets there as well, especially playing a full season. So, guys, we'll hop right into Darius Slayton. Position 37, overall 80. He's the spot right behind Sterling Shepard in these rankings. Do you guys have him? What round do you have him? And do you have him as a top 30 receiver, 48 catches, 14% target share, 740 yards, and 8 TDs this past year?
I don't know that I'd say he's necessarily a top 30 receiver, but I think he's in that 30 to 40 range. I think that's a good spot for him. I think if it were me, I'm taking him before I'm taking Sterling Shepard. So I'd say he's probably in that, late 5th, 6th round area. Not much higher than that. Again, I would stay away from New York wide receivers this year just because Saquon's going to be such a dominant part of that offense, and you don't know what you're getting really with Daniel Jones for a full season. So I'm going to stay away from New York receivers unless I absolutely have to in the draft. But yeah, I'd say he's in that 5th, 6th round range.
I think I agree in large part with what Alex just said. I think he's probably landing somewhere in that 30 to 40 range. There's a good possibility he slips a little bit. I mean, 8 touchdowns. There's a chance that regresses a little bit with everybody being healthy. So you figure maybe it balances out because he's a factor in the offense the whole season. So the touchdowns may not be quite as high, but maybe his target share goes up playing a full season, his yards and receptions increase. 30 to 40 range. I think, again, I would agree with what Alex said. Is I'd take a flyer on Darius Slayton because of the upside that he can bring to my team on any given week. So, somewhere late 6th or early 7th, somewhere in that neighborhood is kind of where I'm thinking. He's better than Shepard as far as a fantasy perspective goes, but I don't know if he's inherently better to, jump up a couple rounds to get him just to say you have him.
Yeah, that is a tough one to get past. I do think that he finishes right about wide receiver 30 this next year to it. Coming off of a rookie campaign, I think he's going to get better. That 8 TDs does scare me just a little bit, just from the standpoint that I don't know that he's going to be in that same kind of plateau. You look at touchdowns this year, they were more of a rarity for the wide receiver position than they were in years past, with a lot fewer TDs coming to wide receivers. Your top TD catchers, top TD wide receivers only had about 11 touchdowns on the year, and there was only 2 others that got to double digits on that. So you only had 3 wide receivers this year getting 10 or more touchdowns. And I think you may see some regression there as well. But I've got him in the 7th round. I think he's going to be right at wide receiver 30 when the year's said and done. It brings us to Golden Tate. He is wide receiver 45 on the year. Position ranking for next year, they've got him 86 overall, 230. He had 49 receptions, 676 yards, 6 touchdowns, and a 14% target share. And guys, he had a shortened season as well. He was on suspension the first 4 games, and then he had a injured game week 13. What are you guys' thoughts here round, and does he crack the top 40?
No, I don't think Golden Tate cracks the top 40. I think round wise, I think he kind of becomes the forgotten soldier a little bit. He might end up with a better season than Sterling Shepard statistically, but I think as far as the draft goes, when he's going to be picked, I think you're looking somewhere, probably the 9th round. Yeah, probably around that 9th, 10th round type receiver, depending on league size. If you're playing in a 12-team league, That sounds about right. If you're playing a 10-team league, he probably drops another couple rounds because there's going to be better options around you. You like the idea of, yes, Daniel Jones is still developing, so he's going to need something. And with Golden Tate kind of being that slot guy, he's going to be positioned a little bit closer to the quarterback. There's going to be some more intermediate routes there. He's not going to be the, go deep guy necessarily, so he'll be a little bit closer, easier to find for Daniel Jones. But ultimately, I don't know that this Giants offense is going to they're not going to be focused in on Golden Tate as a primary option. He's probably the fourth best option on that team behind Saquon, Evan Ingram when healthy, and then one of the other two receivers that we just discussed.
I'm right there with you. And my thought process with young quarterbacks is, and I don't know that it always holds true, but it seems like it does a lot. With young quarterbacks, they're going to look for the easy pass, and typically that easy pass is a tight end route or a slot guy. So that skews numbers, I think, a little bit. I think that because the game is so fast for a young quarterback, that the first option is usually the quick option, and that quick option is typically a route run by the tight end or by the slot receiver. I think we're saying top 40. We're asking if he's going to finish top 40 positionally. I don't think so. I don't know that. And this might contradict what I said a little bit earlier too, but the more I think about it, I don't think that he's a top 40 guy. I like what Kevin's saying there. I think that he's a forgotten child in a 10-team league. I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't get picked. I think there's other options that are out there, and he's a guy that you have as a on your bench fill in, hopefully as a bye week fill in type guy. But I don't see him being a major contributor to anybody's fantasy team. He is a secure wide receiver 3 on your roster. And if you're playing in a 2 receiver league, then you find a better option than Golden Tate, at least to start the season. I don't see it happening.
What round do you got him going in, Alex?
12-team league, I guess, in that 10th round. I think if he's a 10-team league, though, I'm saying he's going undrafted.
Off your list, Eric, who do you have aside from Slayton and Shepard going in that intermediate area that we're talking about here? Because all three of those guys are kind of bunched in there together. What other receivers are you showing kind of in that area?
From other teams.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough one. If you're looking at kind of that Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton, you've got Christian Kirk, Brandon Cooks, Mike Williams, Alshon Jeffrey, Curtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson are the 5 guys immediately following those 2 on there. And depending upon who you're talking about there's some guys that I'd be all in on and some guys that I wouldn't. But you've got T.Y. Hilton, A.J. Green, Michael Gallup right before Sterling Shep on that list as well. And I have a tough time believing that Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton are going to finish in the same rank as a healthy T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, to me, I'm staying away from Giants wide receivers. I just don't think that the upside is there. Maybe Slayton's got the upside just because he's young and he's a little bit of a wild card. You're not really sure what you'll get because there isn't a proven track record just yet. But I'm staying away from Giants wide receivers unless in the draft your hand is forced and you just need to get somebody that you're going to be able to start week in and week out because he's going to play.
Right. With Golden Tate, I think he's probably a 12th round pick. No, I don't think he's a top 40 receiver. And it's one of those two that, Kevin, I'm going to echo the sentiments that I think he gets forgotten a little bit there. Because when you look at this past year on the games that Sterling Shepard was out, and Golden Tate was in, target share was way up. You're talking double-digit targets. You're talking a lot of volume going his way, and he's able to make some things happen. But as Sterling Shepard came back with a little bit of the emergence of Darius Slayton, Golden Tate kind of fell off of that target list to the point where at the end of the season he had a lot of games where it was 6, 5, 4 targets to it, and a few games with only 1 reception coming from it as well. So I can't get there on him, but he might be a little bit of a dark horse there, just being that slot guy in that system.
I'm also, I guess the other thing too is like the Giants are probably not going to be good this year, which means they're going to be behind, I think, a lot in their games, which increases throwing opportunities. But I don't know that those guys are there.
Yeah,
I don't think they're worth it.
And because of what you just said, I'm taking Darius Slayton out of the 3. He's the deep threat.
Yep.
You got Saquon that they're going to have to put extra guys in the box to make sure that they're containing and slowing down and opening up some of that play action pass. So I can get there on Darius Slayton as a Giants wide receiver, but with Shep and with Golden Tate, I just can't. Alrighty, guys, that'll do it for the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. If you haven't done so, be sure to click the like and subscribe button. For Kevin and Alex, I'm Derek. And